Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lamb. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. Another school adopts parental notification policies. It's now the 6th school district that wants parents to know if their children identifies as a different gender. A women's rights group speaks out on transgender athletes. They argue these athletes create unfairness for biological girls in sports. A bill to increase taxes on gun and ammunition sales in California advances. One gun shop owner weighs in on the proposal. Another school district joins the growing list of those who want to allow parents to know when their child identifies as a different gender or using different pronouns. This comes amid a lawsuit and judge pausing another school district from enacting the policy.
After hours of debate on Thursday, the Orange Unified School District approved the policy to notify parents if a child identifies as a different gender.
Our nation has consistently maintained that parents possess a fundamental right to raise their children as they see fit. This right has been upheld in a long line of Supreme Court cases that reflect the American people's long-standing commitment to parental rights.
Assemblymember Bill Asaley, who proposed a statewide bill on the issue, was also present to show his support for the bill.
You are reaffirming that children are the domain of their parents, not the government. And that's what this whole issue is about. Who gets to raise our kids? Who gets to raise the next generation of Americans? Is it the government or is it their parents? The schools have no authority to withhold information from parents. Zero.
Parents are not the enemy. We are the support system. We are allies. We want to work with you. So please don't keep secrets from us.
Under the policy, students will be sent to a school counselor or psychologist if they identify as a gender different from birth. Their parents would be notified within 5 days unless the student will be harmed or if they are at least 12 and do not consent to the notification. But critics say the policy would not protect children since they would be outed.
You claim that this is about protecting children, you lie. This policy is about control. It has nothing to do with keeping children safe. By forcing schools to out children, you will serve only to ensure that students experiencing gender dysphoria who don't feel they have a support system at home will continue to suffer in silence.
By you passing this policy, you put the lives of children in the district at risk.
The meeting came a day after a judge blocked a similar policy in the Chino Valley Unified School District. The same district was sued by Attorney General Rob Bonta. He also criticized Rockland Unified School District for passing their version of the policy on Thursday. In a letter to the school, he said, forced outing of students to their parents is very likely to result in significant emotional, mental, and even physical harm and subject students to discriminatory harassment. Amid the controversy, the California Assembly passed a resolution on Wednesday to recognize August as Transgender History Month, the first in the nation.
In San Francisco, a women's rights group urges for a change in sports policy. They, along with parents and community members, spoke on current school policy involving transgender athletes. The CIF San Francisco commissioner, as well as principals from 14 different high schools, were in attendance. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
I'm in front of the San Francisco Unified School District building where a group of people are going to talk at a public hearing regarding the rights of female athletes competing in school sports. The speakers came to voice their concern of unfairness with current policy during a California Interscholastic Federation meeting. They said they want to see school sports divided by genetic sex instead of gender identity.
Girls will self-exclude because boys are in their sports, because boys are in their locker rooms, because they can get injured, and because this is extremely unfair.
Girls are different than boys. They have different anatomies, different life experiences. At puberty, while boys are adding more mass, more muscle, denser bones due to surges of testosterone, girls are growing breasts, experiencing menses, and encountering male-on-female sexual harassment.
Other arguments the speakers made include injury and liability issues.
A year ago, a North Carolina high school female volleyball player suffered long-term physical injuries when she was spiked by a ball in the face by a trans-identified male athlete who was allowed to compete on a female team.
Richard Wharton has been a cycling coach for 30 years and says that the current policy is displacing biological women and girls as they develop in sports.
So if biological men end up on women's sports, they have hematocrit advantages, they've got bone density advantages, they've got explosive power advantages, they've got stamina advantages.
He says he's seen many examples of promising female athletes giving up cycling because of being discouraged and feeling that their hard work is for no reason.
It breaks your heart because this individual is a national caliber athlete with room for development.
Wharton said that the current policy adopted by the state has been in effect since 2013. He said a few years later is when he noticed issues starting to pop up, and now they are very common. Reporting in San Francisco, Jason Blair, NTD News.
The rights of children in the spotlight in California. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with representatives of the Protect Kids organization, which recently launched 3 new ballot initiatives.
School District Trustee Jonathan Zackerson is one of the proponents of the initiatives. The School Transparency and Partnership Act is the first one.
It would require that schools notify parents if their child wishes to be treated as transgender at school. So as soon as the school gets involved and the kid says, hey, I want to go by this new name, I want to use these pronouns, I want to use these opposite sex facilities because I'm really the opposite gender, that's when these parents would be notified by the school.
Zackerson says the initiative also requires parental involvement in determining how the situation will be handled at school.
So it's not just a phone call to the home that says, hey, by the way, your daughter's now using the boys' bathroom. It's, hey, your boy wants to use the boys' bathroom, wants to use this. Let's sit down together and come up with a plan that's going to work best for your child.
The second initiative is the Protect Girls' Sports and Spaces Act.
That would repeal a law that was passed 10 years ago that said that schools must let kids choose the bathrooms and locker rooms and sports programs that match their gender identity, even if it's different than their biological sex.
Protect Kids member attorney Erin Friday discusses the initiative.
This initiative is to bring back biological reality and biological truth that male bodies and female bodies have differences. And it doesn't matter how much surgery you do, how many hormones you pump into a male body, they're still going to be stronger, faster. Women, we're designed to have a flight or fright reaction when we're walking down a dark street and there's a male walking towards us. This is a natural part of our makeup. And now we're telling young girls to ignore this and to accept a naked person a naked man in their bathrooms.
The third initiative is the Protect Children from Reproductive Harm Act. It would ban any type of gender interventions on minors, meaning no puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or surgeries for those under 18.
The interesting thing is that they say that gender is fluid until it lands on trans. And then it's static, which of course has no basis in science. Just a tragedy that we are allowing minors to make irreversible decisions that will affect their lives forever.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta disagrees. He says schools serve as the only safe haven for some students identifying as another gender. He filed a lawsuit on August 28th against a school district, which recently adopted a parental notification policy.
We have to ensure our schools are sanctuaries for every single student. We have to fight those who would try to rip that away from them.
Zackerson and Friday say polling makes them confident the initiatives will succeed if they make it to the November ballot, where they would go straight to the voters. They cite polling, which they say indicates strong support from people on both sides of the political spectrum for all 3 measures. They ask those who wish to support helping them get them on the ballot to go to protectkidsca.com. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Raising taxes on firearms. Lawmakers have locked and loaded a new bill on taxes for guns and ammunition. NTD's Christina Corona hears more from a Southern California gun shop.
California lawmakers have voted to raise taxes on the sale of guns and ammunition, aiming to pay for a variety of school safety improvements. The tax increase on the sale of guns and ammunition comes after California Assembly Bill 28 was passed by Democrats Thursday. The money received by the measure would be used to fund various gun violence prevention, education, research, and investigation programs. This proposed 11% tax matches the federal rate on guns. Unlike most states, California currently imposes over $37 in fees on firearm sales, primarily covering background check costs. We spoke with Alvin Pham, who told us what he thinks of the new bill.
I think it's going to affect the people of the lower class the most, just because at this point in time, firearms aren't exactly cheap, and by increasing the taxes, it's going to definitely increase the cost of the firearms and make it much harder for the people who actually need something for self-defense to be able to obtain something for self-defense. I think it will probably lead to an increase of illegal firearms transactions, just because as it is, we already have a decent amount of that going around. But when you start pricing things out and making it harder for law-abiding citizens to be law-abiding citizens, that's just not going to be a choice for some people.
The California tax is estimated to generate $159 million annually, with $75 million allocated to the California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program.
If you were to look back at history, the reason why we founded America was to avoid taxation on teas, or the reason we revolted in the first place. But in all honesty, there is some amount of taxes that are going to be required. I just don't know if this is the right way to go about it.
The bill, authored by Assembly member Jesse Gabriel, passed the California Senate, awaiting one more Assembly floor vote before reaching Governor Gavin Newsom. The new tax is not directly charged to the consumer, but to the stores that sells guns and ammunition. If signed, the 11% tax would be imposed on dealers and manufacturers beginning July 1st. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. The governor increases the number of soldiers at the border. They will help U.S. port officials tackle illicit drug imports. A Southern California city just banned all future mask and vaccine mandates. This comes as talks of new COVID mandates making a potential return. It's time for some weekend fun and relaxation. We'll take a look at some upcoming events happening around the state. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today, everybody. I'm your host, David Lamb. The fentanyl crisis prompted the governor to increase reinforcements of soldiers at the border by 50%. Soldiers will be stationed at the 4 U.S. ports of entry to tackle illicit drugs.
Governor Gavin Newsom announced on Thursday he is increasing the number of California National Guard, or CalGuard service members to intercept drugs at U.S. ports of entry along the border.
In 2023 so far, 93% of fentanyl seizures in our state have occurred at legal crossing points or interior vehicle checkpoints, which is where our work is being targeted.
There will be 50% more soldiers, from 40 to 60 members at the 4 U.S. ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border to support the interdiction of illicit drugs, including fentanyl. Last year, authorities seized nearly 29,000 pounds of fentanyl worth over $230 million, an amount enough to potentially kill the entire population of North America twice. Since 2019, the state has invested over $1 billion to crack down on opioid trafficking and enforce the law, combat overdoses, support those with opioid use disorder, and raise awareness about the dangers of opioids.
Could artificial intelligence be used within state government? The governor recently expanded efforts to study the risks and benefits of the technology.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order on Wednesday to study AI technology's usage and risk throughout the state. Newsom said AI is a potentially transformative technology comparable to the advent of the internet. 35 of the top 50 companies in the AI industry are located in California, and the state is looking for mutually beneficial partnerships. The order says AI-generated text, images, and other content could transform the way the state and the world conduct business. It says state employees could use AI technology to collect and organize data, but didn't specify any particular methods or programs. The governor is ordering a number of state agencies to collaborate and produce a report in the next 2 months. They have to detail the potential benefits and risks of adopting AI. In San Jose, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
Are COVID mandates making a comeback? Not in Surf City. Huntington Beach just voted to ban future mask and vaccine mandates. NTD Newsroom's Jack Bradley has the story.
The Huntington Beach City Council in Southern California voted 4-3 on September 5th against imposing any future vaccine or mask mandates in the city. Now this comes as cases are rising in the county, but hospitalizations are not. Now we are seeing that Gracie Vandermark, who authored the program, says that this is about freedom. She is the mayor pro tem of the city, and I had a chance to speak with her earlier. Watch. And now the council's vote was 4-3. It was split along party lines. One of your colleagues mentioned that the city council, it's not within their arena to be making public health determinations. What do you think about that?
Well, we're not making public health determinations. We're just making a statement that we have a right to make our own decisions. At what point do we forfeit our right to decide what's in the best interests of our families and for ourselves regarding our health? When does the government decide what they get to do with our bodies, with our livelihoods? So we're talking about two different things here. This is us taking a stand that we will be fighting for our individual freedoms. We can't let things get out of hand. What happened last time was horrible. People were severely depressed, locked in their homes, terrified. I know my mom did not leave her house for over a month because she was so afraid. And then depression kicks in. We had suicides. Nobody talks about those consequences. And that is something that we need to consider as well. Everybody matters, not just one issue, not just the COVID, the victims of COVID. What about the victims of depression and suicide, the victims that lost their businesses, their homes?
Now, was there a moment when you decided, hey, we need to implement this resolution as the city council? Tell me about the time when you decided to do that.
It was right after I watched a news clip saying that they were going to be shutting down schools. The first thing that came into my mind was last time our kids were kept out of school for 2 years. So the children that went into school were in 2nd and 3rd grade without being prepared, because all of a sudden parents were expected to know how to homeschool. They just dumped this on us and it hurt these children for the long run. They're still trying to catch up. So the government did not handle this well, whether it was because we didn't know what was happening, or whatever their reasons were. Children were affected, adults were affected, our communities were affected, our businesses were affected, and if something like this is going to happen, they need to be more careful, because there are many lives at stake here that are being affected, and not just by COVID, by the mismanagement of what they did with COVID.
And what have your constituents been saying to you about this vote?
The vast majority are in support. Many are worried that they're going to be required to get vaccinated to keep their jobs. They did discharge our people, and men and women fighting for our country and our freedoms. They discharged them because they wouldn't get vaccinated. Officers lost their jobs. First responders putting their lives out on the line were let go because they refused to be part of this. Doctors, nurses were kicked out of hospitals. This was so bad that they needed all hands on deck, but they were firing people who just simply refused to get vaccinated. It did not make sense. If you're going to do something, just make it make sense, and none of this did.
Huntington Beach's city manager will draft a resolution and return to the next city council meeting to be voted upon, declaring Huntington Beach a no mask and no vaccine city for COVID-19.
It is Friday again, and here are some activities for your consideration if you hadn't made any plans for this weekend yet.
For Northern California, Flower Piano returns to the SF Botanical Garden, transforming the garden into the city's own alfresco concert hall, where everyone is invited to play and listen. People are invited to explore the garden's global living plant collections as they seek out the 12 pianos spread out across the 55-acre living museum. At each of the 12 hidden pianos, there will be scheduled professional performances, open playtime for participants, and community partner performances reflecting a range of genres, ages, and cultures. Down in Southern California, if you or your kids are into trains, you should come aboard LA Union Station Train Festival. Guests of all ages are invited to check out rail equipment on the tracks from various decades since the opening of the station. There will also be giveaways, eateries, and live music while you enjoy various programs throughout this iconic Los Angeles landmark.
Now, let's check in with NTD's Tyler Castillo for a sports roundup.
Let's dive into the sports roundup for today. I'm Tyler Castillo.
I had the privilege to go inside Levi Stadium, home of the 49ers, for their concession showcase, giving us a sneak peek at what will be served during the season.
Let's try it.
As you can see, I was at a loss for words. There were plenty of options if you wanted a snack, or maybe you were just hungry for a whole meal. Whatever you are in the mood for, the different varieties of restaurants should fulfill your hunger. I was lucky enough to ask one restaurant chef about their food being served at Levi Stadium.
Oh man, excited. I couldn't sleep for a couple days when they asked us to come out here. But yes, we will be on the 7th floor, the 300 concourse, and we will be serving basically all these dishes here with an exception. We also do barbecue tater tots and then loaded tater tots, yeah.
As I got to know the chef, I also learned how the restaurant came about in the Bay Area.
And then we just did a lot of research and tried to bring Texas barbecue to California. So basically everything is just a traditional dry rub, brisket, salt and pepper, pork is a dry rub, and then our smoked pastrami.
I'm glad they came to California. 49ers fans can experience these different restaurants anytime during game days.
And that is all for the sports roundup for today. I'm Tyler Castillo.
Thanks, Tyler. That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Ganjing World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb. Have a wonderful weekend.